Okay, welcome to a very special edition of the Blue Room. We are on YouTube. It is Wednesday. I promise you it's Wednesday. It's not really, it's Tuesday, but we're recording this on Tuesday for Wednesday, and you'll find out why that very special reason is in a moment or so. I've got two incredible Evertonians with me right now from the Merseyside PPE Hub. Try saying that when you've had a drink. It's Tom O'Dowd and Mark Brownett who have kindly joined me. And lads, we've got a really special announcement about something that's going to be happening tomorrow, and it's pretty huge. But first of all, Mark, I'll come to you first. Tell us what you're all about and what you guys are doing throughout this lockdown.
Yeah, okay. So I'm representing Merseyside High School in Southport here. Ever since the lockdown occurred, we've been kind of really mindful that the community around Southport is, it's been creaking a little bit. It's been struggling, and we as a school have been looking for every chance we can to help the community in whatever way possible. The head teacher, Ian Parry, is incredibly supportive of everybody in Southport. He's a member of the community himself, and we've been investigating how we can help with food banks. The food banks have been closing down. A lot of the food volunteers at the food banks are elderly, and so therefore they've been shielding and staying at home, and that's led to food banks closing down. So we pushed out a bit of a fundraising effort and hoping to raise about a couple of thousand really, and we pushed on and raised £6,000, which has enabled us to feed families, 60 families around Southport, and around the Southport area. That's for the next kind of 12 weeks or so. One of the other things that we were really keen to do was to make and support the NHS and support the care homes and the nursing homes and hospices, of which there are so many around Southport. We know that at this time people are really, really struggling, particularly for getting PPE, and that's somewhere we felt we could help. We had machines and we had equipment and a number of staff who were keen to get involved. So I reached out and found a link on Facebook really, and it was somebody was advertising from a place called the Optimum Group. It so happens that it was a guy called Dave Connor, who I have to say throughout all of this is the real hero here. He's the one who's backing all of this. He's the one who's arranging it all. He's the one who's kind of identified the need from the NHS. And we all talk about the heroes in the NHS and the private care sector. And Dave has really put, he's put his company forward. He's put his money forward. He's funded an awful lot of materials. And I offered to help out in any way I could, because I've got a machine there which will cut out specific files for making cough visors, sneeze visors, and now we've moved on to ear defenders or ear protectors for NHS staff to save their ears on when they wear the face masks. So we as a school have been helping out however we can, and we've been distributing all of the visors that we've been making locally. We've made to date of 17,000 visors in 5 weeks. We're into the 6th week now, and we only on a small machine, so I can't do that on my own. And so I reached out again to the staff who work at my school, and 50 volunteers came forward and said, I'm more than happy to come in and do shifts. So we've had the school open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. And the little machine that we've got has been working like a horse every single day, 7 days a week. And it's only through doing that, I'm putting the effort in, that we're able to produce such great numbers for the people in the NHS. So they've been distributed out to different hospitals and care homes and nursing homes around the northwest region. Really, it goes far beyond Liverpool, but it's just any way that we can help to just to serve the community in the best way that we possibly can. So that's kind of where we are. I've been then asked to represent the Merseyside PPE Hub in the event that you're going to talk about shortly, Dave. So I won't spill any secrets there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Merseyside High School. That's what we're about. We won't say anything about Merseyside on social media. We don't talk about this because we're not the heroes here. In fact, the heroes are the people who work in the healthcare sector, first and foremost. And let's not forget that. But I did mention Dave Connor before, and I can't speak more highly of him than I already have, but the Optimum Group have been superb, and my staff have been brilliant over at Meals Cop. Everyone who's lent a hand, with all of their family members are wanting to get involved, and in some cases, because of the lockdown, we've had to say, no, we can't, we have to be really careful. But the the enthusiasm and the kind of the passion for getting stuck into this has been amazing, really. And another shout out to the site staff, the caretaking staff at our school, who've been coming out at 10 o'clock at night every night to lock down, turn the alarms on, and without a complaint. And that's the whole kind of spirit of what's been going on certainly around Southport, I have to say. So it's been brilliant, really. There's lots of good things have come out of this terrible event,
Yeah, well, it's often when things are the most difficult, isn't it, that we find ourselves coming together and creating some sort of community effort where, something really positive comes from it. And I think you've done yourself a disservice there, mate, saying that you're not the heroes in this, because I think people on the front line absolutely need the likes of yourselves and the things that you're doing as a lifeline for them, because I think it's been well documented, Tom, hasn't it, throughout this entire pandemic, how the shortage in PPE, it's making the headlines on a daily basis, particularly in care homes. People are really struggling. We hear so many mixed messages from the government, and without trying to turn it too political, this sort of thing still needs to happen from within our communities and not just relying on government support and funding from up high.
Yeah, it's as Mark said, and I'll echo the point. There's been a lot of heroes in the whole situation. I think in the NHS, we can't reiterate that one enough. Clearly they've got a massively difficult job. They're right in the firing line, so they're given the opportunity for anybody to support them and to give them the opportunity to do the job safely. I think is massive, and I'm sure Mark feels the same. Linked in with that, to be able to produce the PPE and to be able to provide it is something that I certainly am incredibly proud of, and I know the amount of people that are involved across the groups, the Merseyside PPE Hub, as we've mentioned as well, Dave Connor and the efforts he's put in. Yeah, I think it. Should the gap be there? Probably not. Is it there? Of course, and luckily, we live in an area in the northwest, where people are providing this PPE. They're giving up the time and they're there to help. So in that case, yeah, it's massive, and we're really, really proud to be able to help, and that's why tomorrow, tomorrow, mate.
Everyone's got on to it now.
We've put this event on to be able to continue to provide that support, and initially it was the NHS where we was finding these big orders coming in, people asking for the PPE, and hopefully we was hoping that would be plugged and that the demand would demise. But we found that with the talk of things reopening, things returning to a little bit more normality, services resuming, this PPE demand again, it's still there, and that's why we're continuing to do what we do. It's why Mark's continuing to work as hard as he is, and his his staff over at his school to be able to continue to provide that PPE. So I can't see the demand is going to massively shrink overnight, and like you say, without getting too political, I think I've skirted around it just about. The demand's still there, and we're still more than happy and more than proud to be producing it.
Yeah, just give us a scale of the numbers that you've been distributing to, Mark, if you could, and the areas that you've been reaching. I mean, it goes far and wide across the northwest and beyond, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It's like I said, my centre alone has just produced 17,000, and we're just one of a few different places that are producing these items of PPE. We've got a lot of schools involved, but we've also got some privately owned kind of laser cutters being used in people's houses, and they're then feeding them back to me, and I'm taking them along to the central hubs. So we've been dropping them off at Costa coffee shops around, well, in Crosby and Gattaca and Wavertree, and from there they've been distributed. You say way away from the kind of the local area, but certainly the wider Merseyside region, south of the city of Liverpool, north of the city of Liverpool. We even had a request which came through from Wolverhampton Health Service, Wolverhampton NHS, and they were asking for some pieces of equipment which would really keep a couple of ventilating machines that they were using in ITU units in the hospitals down there. They were 3D printed little tiny valves which for oxygen flow. Without these valves, they would have had to shut down these machines, and that's catastrophic, really.
Yeah,
that's somebody's life at the end of the day. And there was a call out. Dave contacted me on a Friday evening, and we did everything that we could to try and fill that gap. Unfortunately for us, we weren't able to produce that, but with a variety of different contacts, we needed 100 of these units making, and they needed to be made over a weekend and delivered on the Monday morning. So I found out about it Friday night. We needed 100. And together as a group, Merseyside PPE managed to get together 300 of these units. We got on the back of a motorbike Sunday evening and down to Wolverhampton. So it's been a more of a national kind of effort. Wherever the demand is coming from, it's been met, and it's been met with we've all stood up and we've delivered. So together, it's been a really great effort. Around the Liverpool area, then I've just delivered another 100 to Ward 23 for Zachley Hospital, or Aintree Hospitals Trust. We've had an order for 2,000 a week from the Heart and Chest unit at Broad Green. There's been a variety of standing orders that have been coming through. So, as well as that, there's been repeat orders from different privately owned care homes and what have you around the kind of the north of the city, like I said, Southport and beyond, really. So it goes far and wide. I don't try and put a number on the amount of units that we've produced, but it must be into the hundreds of thousands now.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. And Tom, you've seen, I guess, a wider perspective being at the hub itself and seeing the various other places. I mean, Mark's just one case there, and you've heard of how far and wide his sort of services have been required, and some of the, I mean, that is absolutely crucial, isn't it? To keep 2 ventilators going, to scramble to get enough equipment, enough people to do this, it shows how much of a collective effort it's been.
Massively, yeah. And to add to Mark's points there as well, myself, Dave, Connor, and a number of other people from the hub, along with fan support and food banks, we actually did a tour. So we went to a number of different food banks for different clubs actually to deliver PPE. So they'd requested a number of visors and a number of ear savers and other parts of PPE. So we went as far as to Newcastle, to St James's Park. We made a delivery there to their food bank, and they were massively grateful for that. Down to Huddersfield, and then we finished at the Etihad, where we met with the Manchester City and Manchester United food banks, and the gratitude that they shown for the efforts that across the Merseyside PPE Hub, from the schools producing the PPE, the distribution and the communication, it was great to see, but at the same time very sad that the demand was there for it, not just in the northwest, but as far as the northeast and down, really. So not just small areas, we're talking a vast region of the country. So
I was just going to say, go on, Mark, sorry.
Go on. Can I just come in and say, add something to that before we move on to what it is that you're going to announce later? Just something that Tom said before, and I think that it's really worth labouring that point, that the news and the daily briefings that we see, on the TV all of the time, and the way that the media are talking about dropping this, relaxing all of the lockdown measures, and as we slowly start to transition out of it, the demand is. I'd suggest that it's growing rather than, it's certainly what I'm experiencing. The demand isn't shrinking in any way. It's just changing. The sector's changing. We're getting demands or not demands, but we're getting requests, polite requests all of the time from privately owned companies now. So beauticians who are getting themselves prepared, schools, primary schools. We're delivering now a pack of 10 samples to each of the primary schools around the Southport area, and saying to them, if you need any more of these, please do contact us, because the Merseyside PPE Hub will provide these for you. We've had chiropractors, jewelers, estate agents, and all the a variety of different companies and organisations which will eventually form this new normal that we'll move out of this transition into, and without which we'll struggle really as a society to rebuild. So the demand will change. The places where these units will go will change, but it won't drop. It won't die off, and I can only see it growing, really. So we do need help.
Well, the schools thing's the most a really interesting point, I think, Mark, because that seems to be where the headlines are at the moment in terms of children going back to school, and how safe it is. Again, we hear conflicting messages from up high about this sort of thing. I mean, from your perspective as somebody who's involved in making this equipment, have you seen a surge in those sort of requests from schools, and do you expect to see even more, given the fact that these are little kids going back to school who don't necessarily understand the disciplines of social distancing and how it all works? I mean, if I'm a head teacher at a school, or if I'm somebody who works at a school, I mean, I'm making those contingency plans right now to get those things in place. I mean, it must be the demand must be on its way for that, surely.
Yeah, absolutely. As a school leader, I've met today with the leadership team in school. We've been in all day, and I've literally raced home for this interview, really. So I've got a quiet space to speak. But half an hour before this interview took place, I've been meeting and discussing how the health and safety and the risk assessments of the school need to be in place, and when that's going to look likely to happen. I'm in a secondary school, and so I know that there's going to be a certain number of students who will return to us before the summer break. And I'm lucky, really, because I've put aside some of this PPE for the staff in our school first and foremost, because the crucial point that you made there, Dave, is that these are children who are coming back to us, and we have to do everything that we can to make sure that they're safe, that they're healthy, and make no mistake about it, they are our future, and we've got to do everything that we can to support them, to protect them, and to give them this structure to return. So we are all looking forward to seeing them, very, very much so, but it has to be right. It has to be very, very carefully thought out. So you're right, the demand is there. It is started, and it's part of this whole kind of this discussion around risk assessment of inviting students back in, because as soon as they cross that doorstep and they're coming towards us, we have to be ready for them. So it won't be just my school who's doing this. Every single school across the country will be doing this, and the demand has already started. We've seen a few emails arriving in the last couple of days, really, and we've kind of been a little bit more proactive by taking it to them and saying, here it is, have a little look at it, and if you feel that it's something that can fit in with your health and safety plan, with your risk assessing, then please do get back to us, because that's going to be a massive demand that'll start coming through very, very soon.
Do you feel as if you'll be overwhelmed by the I mean, capacity is the buzzword right now, isn't it? The NHS capacity. Do you feel as if you'd be able to cope with the demand that potentially might bring, Matt?
It's hard to say, really, because I think it all depends on where there's a lot of conflicting advice from different factions, different groups. If you read the Department for Education guidelines, it'll suggest 1 minute that you don't necessarily need to have this PPE and a face covering or anything like that to be in a school setting that's safe. But at the same time, don't hesitate to use it if you feel that that's the right thing to do. And so a lot of parents will be looking at this and thinking, I'm sending the most precious thing in my life, bar none, to a building that I don't really know how safe that is, and they may very well want some kind of protection. So, in terms of capacity, it's a tricky one, really, because if we keep going the way we are, we'll be able to turn out thousands of these units. But in my school, which is a medium-sized school, there's 850 students, 160 staff, and all of a sudden that's a week's worth of work. If every school is having to produce that much for such a short turnaround of time, it'll be a massive demand. So I'll say it again, we need help with that. We've got a number of people here, a big team of people who are doing everything they can to hit those targets and the numbers that are needed. But the number's going to grow.
Tom, on that sort of thing, in terms of needing support, before we get on to what we're going to announce is happening by way of getting some more funding for you guys and continuing the great work you're doing, can you sort of explain the different ways in which people can get involved before we sort of go on to say what's going to be happening?
Yeah, so people can get involved. We've had a lot of volunteers primarily, so people who've been able to come down to work either in our hub or different schools by getting in contact. So we've had people outside of our school itself and our organisations actually contacting us and asking can they be of use. So we've had people coming down helping produce visors, cleaning, a number of tasks really, even if they're not skilled, just anything that they can do. Leading into the event, then that's some people have got other skills, wider skills, which can be really useful for getting what we're doing out there for increasing the funding capacity and so on, which is massively useful. What I found is a lot of different people have got different skills, and it's that teamwork and that the solidarity, everyone coming together and plugging all the different gaps that is making this kind of thing happen, really. By finding what people can do, finding what people are best at. Mark's been able to manage his staff to get the production done. In our place, we've got a lot of people who are filling different roles. Linked in with that, we're working with the PPE, but we're also doing the scrub hub as well, and producing scrubs for NHS staff. So we've had people coming in there as well, volunteering, which has been great. Following that, fundraising and by people getting involved with social media, so getting on the Twitter page, the Merseyside PPE Hub, they can obviously access all the different raffles that have been run. Buying tickets is a massive source of income, which has helped us massively, and also by just donating on PayPal as well. There's a link up there, and that's pretty much going directly to buying materials. We've got a lot of voluntary staff, a lot of either teachers within the organisations who are going in to work, or people volunteering, but it's primarily for materials, for fabric, for plastic, for elastic, to physically make the equipment and the PPE.
So people's money's directly going into saving people's lives, isn't it? It's straight to these people. It's not no middleman, no sort of it's going to go through some tax accounts or whatever first. It's straight to these people who need it the most. We'll move on to what we sort of want to announce, the special event that's coming up, and I'll just read what's on Twitter and you can take over from me, Tom. Okay, so make sure you give it a follow as well. It's at Mersey PPE Hub on Twitter. We'll put all the details out across our social media as well. I feel as if there's a little bit of a mixed message in this already, Tom, I've got to say, maybe, because it says 66 miles, 48 runners. I'm one of them, so it's 47 runners. Someone else will have to go a little further when I do my lap. Anyway, the announcement is we're running the distance of the hub to the Etihad. So the hub is in Wavertree, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Correct, yeah. 66 miles, 48 runners, one runner at a time, 12 hours around the hub car park. Special guests to be announced, and we're using the hashtag laps for lives on Twitter, so make sure you get involved throughout the day and from now on, basically all the way up until tomorrow. And Tom, I'll leave it to you. Who are the names and the people that we've got involved?
Perfect. Right, well, I'll start from the beginning. So it's going to be tomorrow, Thursday the 21st of May. We're going to start at 9 o'clock in the morning, and like you've said, Dave, it's a 12-hour event, so we've got quite a few miles to cover, quite a few laps of the school car park to get round, and we've got a range of people who've been involved with different hubs, with different parts of producing the PPE and getting it out there, people with Scrub Hub as well, and then on top of that, we've got quite a few personalities and people of note, basically from the Northwest, and it just shows that solidarity, really, that we are a community, that we are helping one another, and it doesn't matter from what walk of life that you're from, that you're willing to help, and that's massive for us. So we've got a few names. We've got Jamie Carragher. He's going to come down and show us his running ability. Johnny Vegas is going to come down as well. He's going to start the event. So you've got competition, Dave. We've got Steve Warner, Neil Mellor, Chris Kirkland. You might notice a bit of a theme there, as I've mentioned. Some of the people who've been helping us organise this event may support another club in Merseyside.
Yeah. But can you just jump in a minute? Jamie Carragher grew up as a Blue. He was a Blue first and foremost. Yeah. He played at Everton, and unfortunately, he moved on to different places. So keep going, yeah.
Yeah, we'll have it. We'll still take him on the back about that.
We'll see how he's getting on with his laps. It's quite a tight course. Might be able to talk him back down. But also we've got Sue Smith, well-known pundit and former England international.
And a massive Blue as well.
And a massive Blue, yeah. Somebody who was on the go recently. Jamie Webster. He's a Liverpool fan, but he's there. And also Chanel.
Wow. And the Parrot as well, or?
I'm not too sure. She actually came in today to do a little bit of saying hello to the team and that, which was nice. The Parrot wasn't in tow, so we'll see. To be confirmed on that one. I can't believe out of all them names. That's the thing you've asked.
Do you know what? Maybe I don't know. Yeah, that's the most important things. The African grey parrot.
Yeah.
Maybe that could be the last lap.
Yeah, on the back of that, Dave, as well, I'd just like to say, to put this together, we've had some really good backing from people in the community and businesses in the community as well. So Auto and Automation, they've been a massive backer of us and they've supported us massively. Carpenters Group as well, they put on a raffle to raise some more money to get people to run around similar times as when Carragher's there, just for a little bit of PR, which is great. Agents have been amazing. Our Tribe, PT Construction, the 23 Foundation, SCS, LID Delivery, and as we've mentioned as well, Dave Connor, Optimum Group. All of those businesses, all of those people have helped individually to make this an event that's going to be successful and that we've been able to actually facilitate and put on. What I'll thank as well finally for providing the t-shirts. That's massive. So yeah, that's the event. That's what we're going to do. That's the challenge.
I mean, it's absolutely incredible, isn't it? You're able to get that level of people. Okay, yeah, the majority of them are Liverpool players, but speaking from close relationships with the majority of those who you've mentioned there,
yeah,
having had to work alongside them quite closely for most of my career, they're absolutely brilliant. Neil Mellor, Chris Kirkland, they're just the best of human people. They're just incredible people, and communities really close to all of their hearts as well. As you can see by them getting up and putting the miles in, literally. To get us some more money, to get us as much as we possibly can, to get this money in for the materials, to get to the front line. It's absolutely incredible. You two are both running as well, aren't you?
Yeah. I'm running. Mine's at my little slot is at 5:45, so it's a bit of a graveyard shift, that one. But anyone who wants to come down and give me a cheer on, I much appreciate it. I'll be representing the blue side of the city. It is just to say that, although you're talking about a lot of the Liverpool lads coming down and getting involved, it's just a sign of the solidarity of what the city is about. It's always been the same for me. This is beyond football. This is bigger than football. This is life and Liverpool, and this is what we do really, really well.
It is. We've got a rich heritage in this, haven't we? From everything we've been through together, Liverpool, Everton. Doesn't really matter, really, does it? We're all from the same stock, we're all from the same family, and that's exactly what we're going to see tomorrow. It starts at 9 o'clock, 66 miles, 48 runners, 12 hours around the hub of a car park. You'll see me crawling around somewhere at around 3:45. I might get a taxi, I'm not sure. I just want to say a massive thanks to the both of you. Tom, I'll let you finish off in a sec, mate. Give us all a lowdown where we can donate, the website and things like that. But Mark, honestly, my heart goes out to you, your staff, everybody involved in getting all that sorted, because it is an absolutely incredible effort.
There's just one more thing. I thank you for that, and I push all of your thanks onto the team of staff who've been coming in and doing all of that work, because all right, I've done a fair bit myself, but it isn't, I'm more than happy to do that, and I'll do it as much as I possibly can. But I couldn't have done the numbers that I've done without the people who are there to support us from our school and from our community, really. So Zoe and Sheila are there at the moment, still turning them out, and they're doing a great job. There's a guy over at Birkdale who's been fantastic, really. He's been ringing me regularly. His name's James. He's at a company called Rad Wraps, and he makes radiator wrappings, which is an interesting concept, and it looks really good, to be fair. He's been reaching out and trying to do anything that he possibly can to help. So he's provided us with a load of materials as well, and we're looking to turn some of those materials into protective face shields. We've got a lot of audibly impaired students in our school, and so they need to be able to lip read. So for our staff, they're going to insert some of the material that is this clear plastic material into a face mask, so if we are using it, at least that they can see. So James has provided us with some great materials, and I just thought it was worth giving him a bit of a shout as well, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely, James, absolutely superb. Everybody, I mean, there's people you probably forget to mention in all of this. It's that much of a collective effort, isn't it? Tom, final word to you, mate. Where can people get involved? Where can people donate, and what can they do?
Cheers, Dave. Thank you. So I'd just like to say, Mark as well, fantastic. It's great to hear not just the hard work that's going in, but how ingenious it is. Hopefully we can keep it going. We can keep pushing, keep raising more funds. So it's going to be paypal.me/PPT. Sorry if I said that wrong. What?
Go again. It's fine. It's not live.
Perfect. So you can get involved. You can donate on the day or at any point. It's paypal.me/LLT PPE. Also, if you head over to Twitter and Facebook, follow Merseyside PPE Hub, you'll be able to see the links there. So we'll be giving live updates during the day. You can see how the distance is going, and you can see how the different people during the day are getting on, and that'd be amazing. And if you could do a little hashtag Laps for Lives, that's the name of the event. Clearly, you know, we're raising money for frontline workers to save lives.
Absolutely superb. We'll be across it all day on the Blue Room as well. You know where we are. It's easy to find us on Instagram, Facebook, and we'll be retweeting everything, getting involved as best we can. And make sure if you can spare anything at all. I know it's a difficult time for everybody, whether you're furloughed, whether you're out of work, but this is going into saving people's lives. So I implore you, please get involved as much as you can, even if you're just sharing the messages so somebody else who has got a couple of quid can get involved. We'd love to have you involved, and we really appreciate all the support we can get. Thanks, lads, to both of you for joining me tonight. I know you're both busy and getting back to work, straight back onto the campaign.
Yeah, thanks, Steve.
We'll no doubt speak after it as well, when we're icing each other down and whatever. So, socially responsibly, of course. Thanks very much for listening. Thanks for your time, everybody.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks very much.